What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Existential Stoic Podcast. This is a quick fix number 38. Today, we're going to talk about body language. I'm Danny. I'm here with my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Hey, Danny, how's it going?
Going well. So, the quick fix is a short, like 10-minute episode. We're each going to give you 3 tips for how to, really improve and focus on your body language, as that's crucial to also, how you project yourself and how you present yourself to the world. So I'm going to start
Wait,
my
before we
first.
do,
Oh,
before we
yeah.
do, I just had this thought about it. So, like, people forget, especially in our modern age with technology, that humans existed for like tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years before spoken word.
Yeah.
So, body language, like, while we kind of brush it off and be like, oh, stand up straight, it kind of does mean a lot because
Oh,
even the stuff that we say nowadays only reflects a small amount of what we
well,
actually mean.
no, that's actually a good point because they were actually saying, there's studies that have shown that like we respond to actually like minor facial movements. We respond more. We actually like language is not. We've talked about this before. Language is just not verbal. I mean, there's gestures. There's everything else associated with how you present yourself to the world and what that means and how people interpret you, right? And respond.
Dude, I was just read something the other day that disgust, like the emotion of disgust, if a woman shows that with her husband like 4 times in 15 minutes, there's a 97% chance they're going to get divorced within 2 years.
Really? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
crazy. Yeah,
I guess
right.
that makes sense though, right? Because if that means it's like, what's the point, I guess, of doing that? Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually also on a side note too, I also just saw something the other day that dogs, because we've domesticated them so much, they're like one of the only animals that can respond to our body movements and body gestures and things like that, like pointing and stuff. Even like chimpanzees don't recognize that. It's interesting. Anyway, so that's a lot of information of why this matters.
Now that you know that body language is important, let's get
Yeah,
into a few quick tips.
damn right. All right. So my first one is definitely like kind of counterintuitive, but first of all, don't worry about what others think. And I think this is important, when you think about the existentialist, and this idea of being self-aware and that idea of like thinking of ourselves, we often, when we get like hyper aware, we think of ourselves like as if the camera is always on us, right? And we sort of hyper focus on like our movements, on these acute changes, and it makes us act awkward, weird, inappropriate. So sometimes, you have to kind of like to present the right body language, you also have to turn off the mechanism of concentrating on body language. And I know
I
it
think
sounds
that's
weird, but it's true. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a good one, and it kind of makes sense because, like, you look at these people who you think are very confident, and you imagine what they would think, and they'd be like, "Well, I don't care about what anybody else thinks." So then, why not go ahead and do that yourself?
And confidence is also born from that, right? By not worrying about that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Danny took more of like a philosophical route on these. I took more of a practical route on these. So my first one is smile and introduce yourself. So, like, two of the best things you could ever do. Like, Abraham Lincoln once fired somebody because of his face. He was over 30. He didn't smile. He got fired because of his face. It's something that you can totally control. And it's like one
Yeah.
of the most endearing things that you can do. The easiest, least costly thing you can do to improve your appearance is just smile. And then introduce yourself. Everybody's waiting to be everybody wants to be the most popular person. Well, usually the most popular person at a party is the person introducing themselves. So go around and just make it a habit of just introducing yourself. Say hi when you're in the awkward elevator. Make small talk.
Yeah.
Like, it's those little things.
I like that one though, because people always talk so much about like networking and stuff. And it's funny, like smiling one, it gives people, calms people down, makes them more likely to want to talk to you. But also just introducing yourself, you never know who you're going to meet. And you never know what conversations are going to be born from that. But you'll never experience those unless you try first and introduce yourself. You can't wait on the world, right? You got to do it yourself. I like that one. That's good. Awesome. My second one, I think you kind of say goes along with this sort of, but it's project the body language of the person you want to be. And this is interesting because we see this in like Nietzsche talks a lot about the relationship between our physiology, our like physical health, our bodies, and our mental health. And I think there is this connection here where like, if you are depressed and you're projecting that sort of, like mopey, sad, you're also going to feel that way and everybody else is going to respond to that. if you try to, you can force changes not only through perspectival changes, but also through body changes and body language changes, because that is also a perspective. It's a way we're interpreting the world and representing, right, ourselves to the world. So I think, holding your shoulders up higher, right? Pretending that you have more energy, even if you don't, sometimes you can trick yourself into that and it helps. Yeah.
Well, they've done a whole bunch of studies on this, and they both affect each other. So like,
Yeah.
Emotions are affected by actions, but actions are something that's totally much more in our control. So like, we can control ourselves, even though it may be uncomfortable. We can control ourselves to smile, to stand up straight, to stick our chest out, to do these things. Whereas like, if you're feeling down, you're like, be happy, man, be happy, yeah. It's like, it's a lot easier to control.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I've actually, and it's funny, you can really, like, in a way, you can make yourself have more energy, right? You can make yourself, it's just like, because you let your mind sort of dictate that, and you get worn out and you feel exhausted, and all you want to do is take a nap and stuff, and that happens. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Awesome.
my next one is breathe deeply and slow down. Now, this is something that may sound intuitive, but to me, it was actually kind of counterintuitive, because I'm very much like a fast go, 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 go type of person.
Yeah.
And I learned this when I used to like learn how to pick up girls and everything like that. And I was just blown away how well it worked. That just like taking deep breaths and then walking intentionally slowly, talking what seems intentionally slowly, like the effect that it has is miraculous. People just like hang on your every word. They're just drawn to you. They're like, why is he moving so slow? Like, what's so special in his universe?
I was gonna say, it makes sense though, right? Because you're forcing yourself to project an air of like confidence, of intentionality, right? Of knowing who you are and what you want. And like, I think a lot of people tend to talk very quickly, they mumble, right? And when you say things slowly, it also just, I think it makes people more focused. It keeps the attention of others, right? And and it's funny because the more you practice stuff like that, the more it becomes really who you are, right? It's like that shift happens at some point. It's a good one. My last one is we talk a lot about perspective and our mental perspective and attitude. And I think there is something with this, with body language, that we can use things like walking and exercising to actually shift what I'll call like our body perspective, right? So like when we do feel tired, when we do feel lazy, and we're drooped shoulders and blah, going out and exercising, taking a walk can actually be that perspective shift, like physically, where you start to hold yourself up higher because you're getting that energy out. Sometimes even that nervous energy, that stress, you got to release it. And then you kind of lighten your shoulders. You're able to hold them up higher, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Getting your blood flowing, moving your body, all of that opens up your posture, as opposed to where most of us spend in front of a computer just completely
Yeah,
crouched down.
hunched over all day or on our phones.
That's a good one. My last one for body language is something that I've read a bunch of body language books, and I only heard this in one book. And this guy, like all of his other recommendations were on par, and so this one, he says, watch someone's blinking. And not necessarily that like blinking faster or blinking slower means something,
Yeah.
but it's something that is completely out of the person's conscious control. And when you start interacting with them, watch their blinking. And then if you notice changes in it, like they start blinking very quickly, or all of a sudden they start blinking slowly, it could mean that they're getting more comfortable with you, or it could mean that they're lying. And so like it'll allow you to be a little bit more inquisitive to find out what's going on with them.
I just thought too that I like about that is, by saying that and reminding yourself to watch their blinking, you're also reminding yourself to make eye contact, because you're actually looking at the person's eyes, which is also, a beneficial thing anyway, because it, that projects, interest, confidence, and all of that as other things. That's a really good one. I like that. Awesome. So there are your tips for body language, right? Just so, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please, click notifications, subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, check us out on YouTube, click subscribe. It helps us out a lot. We will be back later this week with another full-length episode. Until then, though, it's always been fun. Later, Randy.
Later, Danny.